Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So here we will discuss the membrane
सर
separation, reverse osmosis. Yes.
सर पेपर पैटर्न क्या है लाइक न्यूमेरिकल बेस्ड पेपर है या थ्योरी
Uh,
भी है और
yeah,
डेरिवेशन
so kindly let me just go with the lecture and we can talk about this stuff at the end of the lecture, okay? मुझे आप याद करा दीजिएगा नोमान आई थिंक, ठीक है? तो दोबारा इस पे बात कर लेते हैं, ज़रा इसको ख़त्म कर लें क्योंकि सम स्टूडेंट हैव अदर क्लास सो दे हैव टू लीव। आई वांट फिनिश ऑल दो ये 10 बजे से कुछ ऊपर ही जा रहा होगा लेक्चर क्योंकि क्विज़ की वजह से भी डिले हो गया और ये चीज़ मैं बताने लग गया। So I will let you know. Membrane separation. So we are already discussing this topic, and today specifically we are gonna start with the reverse osmosis. So in this topic, we will study reverse osmosis somehow in detail. Overall, in this detail, these three major contents will be covered. We will be introduced what reverse osmosis is, what is the mechanism of reverse osmosis, how can we reverse osmosis. Yesterday you studied something called osmosis, that is some natural phenomena. Today we have to discuss that how we can reverse it. So then we will look at the application of reverse osmosis phenomena, where it can be applied and what are the materials and modules which are used for reverse osmosis application. And then the design of reverse osmosis systems. There are number of parameters, but we will cover few important parameters which are actually the design calculation if you are going to design some reverse osmosis system. Overall, I think these content will be covered in 2 lectures. So in first lecture, we will try to reach cover first 2 parts, and then design part along with some numerical problem will be discussed in next part. This is from previous lecture, this diagram. I think you remember yesterday we discussed this, that what diffusion is and what does osmosis mean. So quickly I will revise and then we will continue with this because our main purpose is to read towards reverse osmosis. In diffusion, you know that is the phenomena of actually movement of solute molecules, and from where to where solute molecule move from high concentration to low concentration. For example, as shown here, let's say you take water and then put some salt or sugar in this. So when you will add, if you add it just at some point, definitely they will start, those solute molecule will start moving throughout the main solvent slowly, although this diffusion phenomena will be slow either if it is natural, but if you just mix it like you do some force mixing, so definitely it will be mixed throughout the like solvent. But if you put it like naturally, what will happen, they will start moving inside the solvent, and after some time their concentration at this point where they were just added will be reduced, or they will be more or less evenly distributed throughout the solvent. So definitely to reach this equilibrium, to have equal distribution throughout the solvent will take some time, like it will not be a one moment phenomenon, but that will reach finally, if you leave it for some time, it will reach to the equilibrium stage in which all solute molecules diffuse throughout the solvent. In osmosis, what happens, so in osmosis actually the major difference is movement of solvent molecule. There we are saying solute molecules, and here you already know as discussed in detail yesterday. So solvent move from where to where, it moves from low to the high solute concentration. Let's say you have this system in which like this is a beaker, or you can take it as a compartment which is divided into 2 parts with the help of semi-permeable membrane. And you know what does semi-permeable mean, that membrane which allows some species to pass through and it restricts the other species. So here we are just taking such membrane that which is which allows solvent molecule to just pass through, and it didn't allow like solute molecule to pass, or very small movement, very like few molecules of the solute can just move from this membrane towards the other side. So as we are saying, this is osmosis. For example, here you have on one side like dilute and on other side concentrated like solution. So what will happen, this liquid will start moving from solvent, which is the liquid, it will move from low concentration of solute to the high concentration of solute. And this was discussed yesterday, that this transport, this like movement will stay continued until the equilibrium is established on both sides, and here equilibrium in concentration become same. So I told you with some example in the last lecture that for example, here you have some specific amount of the solvent. Let's say just for example, here initially it is 5 gram per liter, and on the other side it is 50 gram per liter. So this transport of the liquid of the solvent towards the high concentrations solution or high concentration of this solute will continue until this become balanced on both sides. Here how it will become balanced, because here when you are moving the solute amount will solvent amount will keep on decreasing, solute remains same. As I said initially, it is 5 gram per liter. So when I am removing the solvent, so this denominator will keep on decreasing, while on the other side it was initially 50 gram per liter. Let's say it was 1 liter solvent on each side. So after some time this will keep on increasing. Instead of 1 liter it will become higher, and then this value is like here it is decreasing. So finally it will stop when they reach equilibrium. Just here another example in which you can see, like we have a pure water. This is also somehow discussed in last lecture. So pure water on one side and solution on the other side. So there is semi-permeable membrane at the like bottom in the middle of this tube. So definitely again, if you look at this system naturally, this pure solvent, because this is pure water, its mean solute concentration is almost zero. We just consider that there are no like here any solute molecule, while on the other side it is solution. That means it here is a solvent as well as solute. So water will move from this side to the other side where there is a high concentration of the solute, and this will like continue. It will keep on moving. Just here the phenomena shown to you is like water is just moving from this side to the other side, and level will keep on rising on the other side. So next is then finally this will be definitely reach to some equilibrium, and this will stop. But if we just want to break this equilibrium, if we apply some external pressure on the at that side of the tube where the high concentration of solute was. So how you can do that, if you just push this side, you apply some external pressure. So this external pressure will push the solvent to move from this high concentration towards the low concentration solute area, and this is not natural. We are pushing it, we are applying some external pressure. Let's look at this diagram in continuation of this. Like here you have on the one side there is a water, and other side concentrated solution. Actually in the last diagram that was pure water. Actually maybe you get somehow confused, but let's consider this example way better, that this contains some small amount of solute you can see on this side, while on the other side we have large amount of solute. So what happens naturally, like solvent will move from this low concentration of solute to the high concentration, and its level will keep on rising until you reach to the equilibrium state. But we are not concerned with that. Our purpose is to go for reverse osmosis. What does it mean? That you have to do such a phenomena that you can reverse this phenomena of osmosis, which is natural phenomena. So in order to reverse this natural phenomenon, definitely we will need some external force, and that force is like application of external pressure. Here if we apply the pressure on this side where there was even concentrated solution, so what will happen then in this case, through this membrane like flow of the solvent will be reversed. By the way, these membrane has already are discussed that semi-permeable, and they are permeable to the majorly solvent molecule. Later on in this lecture even we will see that somehow some solute molecule can also diffuse through these membrane, but that ratio is very small. There's very small amount of these salts diffuse through this membrane, and even if they are of very small size, but majorly solvent can pass through this membrane. So in order to reverse this natural phenomena, when you apply the pressure, that will just push this liquid to the other side. So let's look at this small animation in which you can again see, like on the one side you have a salt water, and while on the other side you have a fresh water. So fresh water is that water which is free of those salt content. So if we just don't apply the pressure, if we just place this membrane, and on the one side there is fresh water, on the other side there is the salty water. So naturally the direction of flow of this liquid should be this, from fresh toward this salt, because naturally it will move from low solute to the high solute concentration. But if we need it like uh, pure water, we have to remove it, because later we will see that major application of reverse osmosis is for water cleaning, like that can be seawater, other brackish water. I will just go through that when we look at the application of this system. So majorly when we apply this reverse osmosis for cleaning of water, so what we need is the fresh water, clean water. We want to get rid of all these impurities, which may be the salt, viruses, bacteria, some starch, protein molecule, everything we want to remove from this. So in that case, you will be getting like fresh water if you push it. So if that was just general discussion, if we look at the specific like definition or the meaning for this osmosis, this is the word of like Greek language, and it means push. Osmosis is push, so that refer to push or passage of, like here that is defined like push or passage of some solvent. Like we can say here, common example of the water. So these actually in osmosis we always place some membrane, and that membrane as it is being repeated many times, you know, that semi-permeable, so it will allow the solvent to pass through, but solute will be refused to pass through this. So just we are gonna consider in next slide, I will show you. Let's consider one diagram in which we are considering that one compartment is divided into like two parts. So let's say there is a one stage mean, let's say there is one stage, one beaker, or like that, and we have just divided it into two parts with the help of some membrane, and that is dense membrane. So dense membrane, I think you remember, those are non-porous membrane. Our pores are of very small size, and major phenomena of passage through this membrane is diffusion of the molecule. Here there are no pores, so this membrane actually works or is dependent on the material properties towards those species which you want to separate. So when we put here the dense membrane, that is again semi-permeable, and we have seawater of approximately 3.58% dissolved solid. So seawater contains very high amount of salts. That is, for example, as mentioned here, 3.5 weight%, or you can say if you represent it in the form of, for example, in gram or something, so it will be 3.5 gram per liter. So if you take 1 liter of the seawater and just evaporate it, more or less it will contain 3.5 gram of the salt. That is very huge amount. And if we represent it in the form of milligram, because when you look at some of the standard, there it is mentioned that how much salt should be there in the water, which we sometimes call it total dissolved solid. So later it is also mentioned in some slide. For drinking water, like we have it 500 milligram per liter. So if I just look at this number, which is 3.58%, or we can say it is 3.5 gram per liter, and if you just represent it in the form of milligram, so it will be like 3.5 gram you have, so you can multiply it with the 1000 to convert it into the milligrams. It will be around 3500, I think, milligram per liter. So we have this on the one side containing, okay, let's look at that diagram. So seawater, and you have like pressure, just atmospheric pressure, and on the other side of this cell pure water is there. So dense membrane is permeable to water but not to the solute. Sorry, that is missing here, you can't see, but dense membrane, as already mentioned, that is like only permeable to the solvent. So here it is that compartment or one stage of this reverse osmosis system. Like you see here, on the one side you have seawater, and on the other side you put the simple water. So initially when you just add them, they are at like atmospheric pressure, and you just put them, you put here one membrane. So what will happen in like naturally, water will start moving from here toward the seawater side. The reason is this is water with the less salt content, while it is even pure water, and on the other side there is like seawater, and that contain huge amount of the salts, which is like 3.58% for example. So with the passage of time, when water will move to the other side here, like amount of the water will keep on decreasing. So just to differentiate here, initially if their pressure is same, because we are looking at the liquid head, so here you can see that it is same. Like next, when you water will move from this pure water side to the seawater side, on the other side definitely pressure will increase because head of the liquid is increasing. So that pressure increase by actually pi, or which we call it like osmotic pressure. Yesterday this was also I think discussed in there. So it will keep on increasing. So overall we can say here the difference in the pressure is just the difference of these two pressure, and that is equal to pi. And later, if now we want to push this, like we want to reverse this phenomenon, so what we have to do is to just push this seawater through the membrane towards the pure water side, because we need pure water, we need clean water. So in order to do that, you have to just reverse this phenomena of the natural process, which is like here the difference between these two pressure is like less than the osmotic pressure. So you have to just create the difference between these two pressure, and that should be greater than the osmotic pressure. Then what you will be doing is to actually pushing the water through this system. Initially, if we have to push this water from this system, definitely we have to apply the external pressure. So then external pressure should be sufficiently high that it overcome this head as well. It then push the water through the membrane. So in this kind of system, actually in reverse osmosis system, one thing should be now clear to you after this a lot of discussion about this external pressure application, that here when we are just going against the natural phenomena, we have to apply the external force, and then external force is in the form of pressure. So these operate at high pressure. Somehow I think later maybe there can be some figure about this, because we have some example of reverse osmosis plants running worldwide. uh, their capacities are mentioned. So their pressure is usually 30 to 50 bar. That is quite high pressure when you are pushing the liquid through these membrane, especially for the cleaning of seawater. You need a huge 30 to 50 bar. So normally, if we look at just these diagrams, and if I ask you that either osmosis is like useful for us, does osmosis give any separation? No. The reason is because in case of osmosis, even you are just diluting the seawater, but pure water which you already have, that is already depleting. So that is not actually the separation technique. Simply osmosis is not a useful separation process, because here solvent is moving in the wrong direction, in the opposite direction where we want to move it, because we need pure water, we need clean water, but that is in going in the opposite direction. So here actually it results in mixing rather than the separation. So you reverse it, you go against it. So in order to like reverse the direction of transport of solvent through the membrane, that we can reverse by applying the pressure, and that pressure should be higher than the sum of osmotic pressure as well as the pressure on the other side of the membrane, and that is like pressure should be greater than these difference between these two pressures, so that you can apply and can move it. So in seawater, when we look at the seawater, so water in seawater, sorry, like uh, seawater is actually composed of pure water as well. There are the salts. So here the water will be referred as pure water coming from the seawater plants, because we just remove all the contents from there, and salt, all other impurities are removed, and we get the pure water. So due to this, in those plants which are treating the seawater, we get pure water. When you are getting pure water on the permeate side, that actually, because why I'm saying permeate side, because through the membrane, anything which pass through the membrane, we call it permeate. So as we said, the membranes are permeable, membrane allow the water to pass through. So on the permeate side, we will have pure water, while on the other side, from where there was originally seawater and you were pushing the water through the membrane, on that side there will be concentrated now, I mean water will be there, because when you have removed some water, so concentration of the salt will increase in the leftover water. So this phenomena is named as reverse osmosis, in which what we do is we just clean the seawater and we get the pure water. This is also named as the reverse osmosis. Otherwise, you can define it like reverse osmosis is just opposite to osmosis, in that we move the solvent from high concentration of the solute to the low concentration of the solute. Like that, you can define the reverse osmosis just opposite to the osmosis, because osmosis is movement of the solvent from low concentration of solute to the high concentration of the solute. But in reverse osmosis, movement of the solvent from high concentration of the solute towards the low concentration of the solute with the application of some external force, because naturally it can't happen, so you should mention it if you want to just define it. So this reverse osmosis is used to partially remove the solvent from solute solvent mixture. And the important factor in when we are designing some, by the way, here mentioned is something partially, so maybe I will just go in detail some at some other point, but just to let you know that when you are using these membranes, so as we said that they are majorly designed in such a way, they are selected in such a way that they are permeable to the water, but at the same time some molecule of these salts can also diffuse through that membrane. The reason is because the pressure is very high, and that can push this these salt molecules which are dissolved inside the water, so some of those can pass through the membrane. Due to this reason, maybe you will see that when you are using such kind of system, you will need more than one stages to get rid of it, suppose you want to go for high purity water. So uh, here the important factor which is about like designing of this reverse osmosis system, that is related to the osmotic pressure of the feed mixture. So what is the osmotic pressure of the feed mixture? That is actually the pressure exerted by that solvent which contains some of the salt. So that is dependent on the actually salt or the solute concentration. Let's say you take the like pure water, so in that case, in case of pure water, this osmotic pressure will be zero, which is just represented here with the pi, because there is pure water, there are no salt. You can say actually if there will be a water column, that will be like pressure will be exerted at the bottom of that column due to water, and that is due to the head of water. But if there are salts inside the water, then it will be exerting some external pressure due to those salts, then pressure increases, and that is actually osmotic pressure. So when you keep on increasing this amount of the salts inside the water, so that concentration of the salt with the increase in concentration of the salt, this will keep on increasing the osmotic pressure. In the next part of the lecture, when we go for the design calculation, you will look at some of the correlations to calculate the osmotic pressure. If you know the concentration of the like solvents, or if you are given the range of the solvent, then which correlation can be used, that will be discussed there, inshallah. So let's here consider, we are considering a membrane system for the liquid that is at high pressure P1, and that contain pure like solvent water, and some of the salt are dissolved inside that, which can be like inorganic salt, for example NaCl, magnesium chloride, and blah blah, all these kind of the salt. Then can be like protein molecules can be there, these viruses, bacteria, those are usually colloidal, in the form of colloidal matter inside the system. So let's say that is the system in which we have water containing all these inorganic salt, then can be organic molecule, colloidal, microorganism, as I mentioned. So when you just push this water through this membrane, and here there is a membrane that is asymmetric membrane, or the thin film composite membrane, and you know what does this mean, asymmetric and thin film composite. Actually this is the membrane on which there is the top layer is actually the separation layer, and then there will be sport layer at the bottom of this. We have seen actually on Thursday last week, so such kind of membrane types when you studied that membrane material and membrane type. So here in the last lecture, yesterday's lecture, there was something that membrane can be even microporous, which we didn't study earlier. Actually, macroporous membrane, and also there was a question in the quiz related to that. Macroporous membrane just support the like membranes layer, which is the separating layer. Macroporous membrane because where have very high pores and they are not used for separation, but those material they are just used as a support, because if we just put this small thin layer, as I told you, that can be thin as a like paper sheet. So if you are bringing high pressure, I told you that pressure can be 30 to 50 bar somehow in these kind of system where you are cleaning the seawater. So that small layer of the membrane, which is the separating layer, top layer, so that thin film cannot sustain that pressure. In order to sustain that pressure, we just fix it, or we just synthesize the membranes in such a way that they are supported on this even microporous or microporous membrane. And in microporous we will select that membrane which have a high pore size, so that because purpose here is just to support, not to like go for separation. Separation takes place in the top layer. So okay, like this here liquid feed, which is the water containing pure water along with all this stuff. Pure water means there are water molecule and all other things which are like suspended or dissolved inside that, and you are just passing it through the reverse osmosis system. What does this mean? That we want to push the water through this membrane against the nature. So when we are pushing the water on the other side, permeate side, you will be getting pure water. So here dense membrane can be like some of the material earlier we studied when we started with the polymeric membrane. Maybe you remember some of the names. So acetate or polyamide membranes can be there, and they are selective for the solvent. It means they are selective actually for the water molecule, so they allow the water molecule to pass through. To just as already told you, that to withstand high pressure which is exerted here to move this water through the membrane. So membrane must be like thick, but that is coated on like on the that must be thick actually. Thin surface works as a separating layer, and then it is coated on like other membrane which can be porous coat, either micro or macroporous. So product of reverse osmosis are usually a permeate, which is almost pure solvent. This is almost, as I told you, that when you are pushing the water through this membrane at very high pressure, so some salt molecule can also diffuse through this, and that salt which usually diffuse through this membrane is NaCl. So on the other side, from where you have just removed this water and left over is concentrated water, you can say, or concentrated seawater, and that is technically termed as a retentate here. So we have somehow retentate which is on this side, on that side where there is like मैंने दूसरा जवाब लगा दिया। मैंने अब देखा, मैंने कहा ये क्यों मैंने लगाया और एक 3 वाला मुझे लगा उसका एक क्या। So here a perfect separation between solvent and solute is not achieved because fraction of those solute can also pass with the solvent through this membrane. And as I was already mentioning again, like this to repeat that point, that in case you need more purified water, so you can go with like more than one stages. And in industries, usually if our need is to go for example, when we produce this boiler feed water. You know that boiler feed water is highly purified water. That is, we try to remove each and everything from that. So in those cases, you can go through more than one stages. As well, if the salt concentration is very high and you are using that water for drinking purpose, let's say in some of the countries, like the sea water is just cleaned with the help of this reverse osmosis system. So in those cases, if you are applying one stage, maybe that rejects very large amount of the salt, but still salt can diffuse through this, and that can be higher than the allowable limit. So in those cases, you again need another stage. So quickly look at the application where reverse osmosis, this technique is used, because we will study various these membrane separation. Like one is this reverse osmosis, later on there is gas separation, electrodialysis. So this reverse osmosis specifically is majorly used to, like, for desalination purpose. Desalination is removal of salts from seawater to purify that seawater. So to desalinate and purify seawater. So on average, seawater contain, for example, this approximately like 3.5 percent salt. So that can be like, you can say they are 35 parts per thousand, or if we can write it, already told you that okay, it is 35 gram per liter. So that is 35,000 parts per thousand, or it is 35 gram per liter. Sorry, I was just referring somewhere 3.5 gram. That is actually 35,000, and if you represent, sorry, 35 gram, and if you represent it in milligram, so it will be 35,000 milligram per liter. So that can be the concentration of the salts. And in order to remove all that huge amount of the salt from water, we can use this technique, and it is being used widely in the world in various countries to get the pure water through this technique. So other next application of this reverse osmosis is to clean the brackish water, and that is water with TDS content. So total dissolved contents here, they are just in between the fresh water and seawater. So if you define the brackish water, so that is the water in between the fresh water and the seawater, because seawater is one extreme, and like pure water or fresh water, that is on the other side, where we have very small amount, like up to 500 or less than 500 milligram per liter of the total dissolved solid. And in seawater, this varies, like above even 30,000. It can go even up to the 50,000 in milligram per liter total dissolved solids in some of the sea waters. Third one, the application of this reverse osmosis is for wastewater. So water contaminated by human use from any or combination of, like, you can say actually we can use it to clean the uh, municipality water, industrial water, domestic water. So all that kind of water can be treated with the help of this technique, which is reverse osmosis. So when we look at its history, when it was used, or first time it was used, so actually for water application to purify the water, and especially this for desalination. So before 1980, actually a multi-stage distillation was used to purify the water. In those countries, for example, maybe some of you is from Saudi Arabia, or know those countries, these in Gulf countries, they have still some plants where they are just cleaning the water with the help of this distillation. Actually, in distillation, what you do, maybe you have seen also one small equipment in our lab, in CPI lab. There you get this distilled water. So how you get it? What you do, actually, you give the heat, you evaporate the water. So water is evaporated, and salt will be just left over at the bottom of that equipment, and then that evaporated water is condensed in the condenser with the help of cooling media. You can provide water, air, or anything, and then that is just after condensation, water is collected. So that is one of the technique which was widely used before this 1980, but then from the 1980, these membrane were introduced. Because this distillation is, when you have to evaporate the water, that needs a lot of the energy as compared to this energy needed in reverse osmosis application. But this situation has changed, like from 1990 now. A lot of membrane where just you have to apply the pressure, you have to push the water through the membrane with the help of pumps, and they need very less energy as compared to the that process. So here some scientists, Loeb and Soebjan, they developed first asymmetric membrane, and that allowed like pressurized water to pass through this at high rate. Mean membrane were actually developed with the passage of time. So uh, they developed first asymmetric membrane, and the reason to develop asymmetric membrane was to sustain high pressure. So when you can sustain high pressure, then you can push water and it will just flow. Its flux will increase through the membrane. Yesterday you have seen the equation of the flux, and you know that that equation involves pressure. So that if you can apply high pressure difference across the membrane, flux will definitely increase. And in asymmetric membrane, you can go with the high pressure in just only if you are looking at the thin film of the membrane that can't sustain that high pressure. So around 1,000 reverse osmosis desalinating plants are like producing more than this 750 million gallons per day of potable water in various countries. So largest plant is located in Israel, and that produce like 84.5 million gallons per day. So that's very huge amount of the water being produced by these plants. So they can be applied on very large scale to meet the requirements of like this water. So reverse osmosis, when we look at for desalination, so what module and what material are used. So module you have seen already in the lecture on in Tuesday. So spiral wound and hollow fiber are those module. At that time it was also mentioned that they are usually used for this application. So and some membrane materials which are usually acetate based and polyamide based, they are good for this kind of separation because they have good affinity with the water, and the purpose here is to just pass the water through the membrane or allow the water through the membrane. So but these kind of membrane have some problem. I think yes, on the last Thursday Tayyab asked one question, and that was closely related to this point which we are just going to discuss, that these membrane can get damaged actually with some with due to presence of some of the species inside the water. And here like cellulose acetate, they are usually susceptible to the biological attack. Mean if there are bacteria inside the water, they can just start growing on this surface of the membrane and they can damage it. As well to the acidic or basic hydrolysis, like back to the cellulose, it's hydrolysis. Actually here is the like reaction can take place on the surface if that goes to some quite harsh acidic or basic condition, like you bring this in contact with that, so that can hydrolyze and can produce cellulose. Actually acetate is dissolved into the like in just into its parts, like due to this reaction. So due to this reason, it is necessary to chlorinate the feed water. And when we chlorinate the water, maybe you know that the purpose of chlorination is to kill the microorganism inside the water, because chlorination is one of the technique. So for example, if you have this kind of membrane and you are cleaning the water and you analyze that water contain a biological material, then it is necessary to have one preliminary unit, like unit before this membrane, so that you can chlorinate the water which is you are going to feed to the membrane. As well, because we said that this is not sustainable at in quite acidic or basic condition, so you have to maintain the pH between 4.5 to 7.5. In this range it will work well with. If pH is very low or very high as compared to this, definitely then this membrane will be damaged. And when you look at polyamide, the other type of these material which are used for this kind of application, so that has also some drawbacks. So that although that is not susceptible to like this biological attack, but that resist hydrolysis. I mean first two problems which are discussed for cellulose acetate, like resistance against pH, as well biological material microorganism, that is not damaged by those two. But The problem here is the chlorine. If chlorine is there, it will start reacting with the polyamide membrane, and that will just damage it. So in this case, for example, if you analyze the water, and wherever you are going to use these kind of membrane, you have to study that, and then you have to decide that which membrane will be more suitable. For example, water contain huge amount of chlorine already, let's say, that then in that case it will be better to go with the first case, because if there will chlorine will already kill the main microorganism, and just you have to maybe adjust the pH if it is not in the drink. But with suppose you don't have any of that issue of chlorine, then it is better to go with this, because here microorganisms don't say are not like they don't damage this membrane. As well, pH range is quite high, from 4 to 11 you can operate this membrane. You don't need to adjust the pH and so on. So you have to look at your application and then just select. Anywhere where there is a RO unit, so feed water to that RO unit usually mean that contain flocculants, and which must be removed prior to passage through the membrane unit. And the reason is like flocculants, maybe you know that flocculants and coagulants, they are used to just remove some of the suspended solid material inside the water. As I will just show you in next slides the mechanism how reverse osmosis plants work. So usually we have some preliminary units to remove some of the species before bringing the water to the membrane, so that membrane have minimum load. We have minimum pollutants which are just removed inside the membrane. Maximum we have removed earlier. So in that case, if you are using flocculants in the water for removal of those suspended solid, then first of all those flocculants you have to get rid of those, because these are again chemical and they also start reacting with this material. So suspended solid and particulate matter, if that is can easily be removed, for example, by screening or filtration. So you can just apply simple filter, that can be sand bed filter, sand bed simple, or some simple screen mesh, so suspended solid can are easily initially removed. So colloids are flocculated and filter, like those which are suspended, their flocculation through this you can remove them. So scale forming salts which form the scale, so that required, for example, acidification or water softening. So and if there are biological material, then you have to go for either chlorination or ozonation to remove them before bringing it to the membrane. And this scale forming salt, actually those salts which can form the scale on the surface of the membrane, so they are tried to be removed before bringing it to the membrane, because they will deposit on the surface of membrane and will be blocking it. You will need cleaning again and again. So other some species are even some of those chemicals are removed either through oxidation or adsorption. So this is one quick just go through this diagram. Just look at this, that here actually you studied in last week that there are porous and non-porous membrane, and first three are porous membrane, microfiltration, ultra and nanofiltration. And in the lecture on last test it was discussed that what are their pore sizes and which kind of the molecule they can reject. We also studied there. So you can see here that as we keep on moving towards the reverse osmosis, basically majorly water will be moving and everything is rejected. In nanofiltration, its pore size was just smallest one among these three, so that can just remove most of the things, but it allows salt, for example NaCl, magnesium chloride, such kind of the salt, majorly monovalent, so it's mean NaCl type, KCl, they can pass through, and other will be rejected. Partially multivalent are also passed, and so on. You can just check that which kind of the membrane can remove which kind of impurities. That diagram can also give you the idea that which kind of the species are removed in which membrane. Initially, suppose you have installed number of membrane here in this micro, ultra and nanofiltration, so which species will be removed where. So after that you have initially pure water at the end of the day. So just I think we will just stop here. Yes, let's look at this diagram first. Such kind of equipment maybe you have seen here in your lab of environmental engineering. So this is one reverse osmosis unit. So a large scale reverse osmosis unit, not on a plant scale. So I will go back to the previous slide after this. So just you can see, actually we have somewhere membrane here in this unit at the last somewhere here. Last where you can see some pump that's called booster pump, and that is used just to pressurize the water through the membrane. As you have seen that we need a lot of high pressure to push the water through this dense membrane. So you can see maybe some filter these cylinders, and they contain like various separating media. Some can be like consist of like activated carbon, maybe some other are being used. Maybe in some of those you are removing other impurities through just mesh. There can be the screen. So actually the purpose to show it here is that like when you bring the water to the membrane, that is cleaned, a lot of impurities are already removed from this. And the reason is this, we have discussed in last few slides, that in order to reduce the load on the membrane, as well as to save the membrane, to just increase its life, like you remove some impurities which can damage the membrane, and as well to reduce the load on the membrane. If we bring everything on the reverse osmosis membrane, definitely it will remove, but you know there will be a lot of deposition on its surface, and you have to clean it again and again. You have to shut down the plant and so on. So due to this reason, all those things which can be easily removed before bringing it to the membrane, they are removed. And most of the time when you bring it to the membrane, you have usually these monovalent salt along with the water. They can be removed with the help of this membrane. So this is one diagram from your textbook, that how does this reverse osmosis system work. Actually, when you bring the feed water, let's say that can be from surface water wells or anywhere. So like you pump this water and pass through this pre-treatment section, and those pre-treatments can be like pre-treatments mean those which you are just making this treatment, removing various impurities before interacting with the membrane for RO. So that can be like filtration, coagulation, and a lot of those chlorination. And it is not necessary to have all these. For example, pH adjustment, let's say you have polyamide membrane and pH of your water is 8, which you want to treat. So polyamide can sustain or is okay with that pH of 8, so that can be used there. So these preliminary units can be are installed based on the requirement, and that requirement is it depends on the quality of water, its composition, which species are there, which should be removed, and which can be like damaging for the membrane and so on. So after passing through these various pre-treatments, then you increase its pressure with the help of high pressure pump, and you pass it through the membrane. So when it will enter here from this, anything which pass through the membrane, this bar shows the membrane. So that permeate is collected, and then retentate just move to the next stage. So here energy recovery stage is mentioned, because when you push it here, it can be at high pressure. So water pass through this, but still retentate which you have here, that can be at high pressure. So you can recover that energy, and maybe in like somehow turbine, by moving some turbine, so you can generate the electricity, or maybe somewhere else if you need that high pressure energy, that can be used. So then at the end, this concentrated water is discharged, concentrated because most of the water is removed here, and leftover will contain a lot of salts. On the other side, this side is important, like because we were looking for the permeate and the clean water. So then that is for example, if you have to use somewhere, let's say for drinking, so then you go usually post treatment steps. So it depends that either post treatment is still needed or not. So post treatment can be there just to adjust the amount of, for example, salts, but are suppose, let's say if still something is left over in that, let's say sometimes viruses can also pass through this, can diffuse through this. So that can be again like water can be chlorinated, or some other let's say some dissolved gases are there, and you want to remove that. Let's say you are using this water for boiler feed water. So in that case, you even remove the water, air through that water using deaerator. Deaerator are those equipment in which we remove the air from water, because we don't want to take that air even in the boilers. So that those are like post treatments through which you can go based on your need. So from here, then design part is starting. So let's stop here. In next lecture, inshallah, that will be discussed. So actually, these major point of this will be discussed along with some equation, and then there is like one problem related to this. So so much, guys, and let me know if you have any question.